Okay, Shchayach for coming. The pasuk says in Parsha Vayeshev, the story, we all know the dramatic story of Yehuda going out to the streets, and he sees over there Tamar. She's dressed like a Zaina. Tamar was his daughter-in-law, and she dressed like a Zaina. So he doesn't know who she was, and he says to her, "Please, will you sleep with me?" So she said, "What will you give me?" She said, "I'll give you 2 sheep." So she tells him what's going to be my mashkin, how am I going to get it. So he said, "I'll give you my signet ring and my cane and my robe." Fine. So he does it, and that's it. He leaves. So 3 months later, the Parsha tells us, your daughter-in-law was Mizana, and she's pregnant. So we know that Tamar was the daughter of Shem. Shem was a Kohen. So Bas Kohen Shazinsa, Chayiv Sreifa. So he said to her, take her out to be burnt. So the pasuk says, he mutzes, she was being taken out. The Taisus in Balmatzia,
Nun Testament
Aleph, thank you, says, he mutzes means that she was kema, about to be burnt. She was right because it's missing an Aleph, which means that she was almost there. She was almost by the fire. She was like an inch away. She was almost there. And then she sent to her father-in-law, to Yehuda, she sent the things that he gave her, the Miyah She'il Aloy, whoever owns this, he's the one who I became pregnant from. And then he recognized that it was her, and he said, Tzadka Mimeni, we know the Baskal came out, it said, Tzadka, she's right, Mimeni, Hashem was geyser that this should happen. Hashem decided this should happen. So Rashi says over here that she was being taken out, and she sent it to her father-in-law. It's an unbelievable story. Unbelievable, really, the more I learned about it, it's an amazing story. She's about to be burnt, and she sends her father-in-law the things in an anonymous messenger. Anonymously, whoever owns this, he's the one. Which means she's taking a risk that he might not fess up to it, yeah? And Chazal tell us that she knew Beruch HaKodesh that she was pregnant with 2 babies who were going to come out from her, David Melech and Mashiach. She knew Beruch HaKodesh that David Melech was going to come out for her. Mashiach is going to come out from her. And even so, she took a chance that he might admit it, he might not, and if he doesn't admit it, she'll be burnt, and that's it. Gone is David Melech, gone is Mashiach, gone is the whole dynasty that she was supposed to have. Why is that? Rashi brings the Gemara, Seit Yirun Beis, in Kan Amru, Noich le Adam Shafilu, Lekibshan Eish Valyam Pnei Chaver Barabim. That a person should be Mal Pnei Chaver Barabim. It's better to throw yourself into the fire. She was ready to get killed, not to embarrass somebody. Oh, so amazing thing. So we know Taisus over there, it says that really is one of the, why isn't this mentioned in the Gimel Chamuris, that Yarg Vayavar? So Taisus says, really it is Yarg Vayavar. Taisus says, and the Rabbini in the Shari Tshuva says, Mamish, it's Yarg Vayavar, to Mebayish somebody Barabim. I don't know if we pass like that, but the Rabbini Yedin writes it in Shari Tshuva. It's one of the, that's Yarg Vayavar. But Taisus says, the reason why it's not listed in Yarg Vayavar, because it's not Mefurish in the Torah. It's not Mefurish, it's one of the Yarg Vayavar, but really it is. Now, so, first of all, I saw a Maharil, heard a thing from Yakim Rosenblatt, there's a Yeshiva in Queens somewhere. He said like this, that Tamar knew Yehuda might not admit that he was the father, right? What type of person wouldn't admit that he did this affair and let somebody go get killed, a pregnant woman, let her just get burnt because he doesn't want to admit? What type of person is that? A person who can't admit that he did it and let a pregnant lady get burnt because of him must be a cruel person. We're not saying Yehuda was a cruel person, but if he would have done that, right? Yehuda was an Ish Kaddish, but if he would have, so that means he's a cruel person. So Tamar didn't want to embarrass him and say it was him, even though she thinks that he might just let her go get burnt. So really, Be'etzem, she's not having Rahmanas on a big tzaddik in her mind. She thinks that he might let her go get burnt. So Be'etzem, you could say that he's really not the best guy. And even so, she didn't want to embarrass him. Even so, she was really willing to get burnt rather than embarrass him. You're the Einfall, you're the Ha'ar over here. And really, that there's a Gemara, the Gemara says in the story of Mar Ukva, it's in Ksubis Samach Zayin Amabez. The Gemara says in Ksubis Samach Zayin Amabez. Mar Ukva had an ani who lived in his neighborhood. He was a poor person who lived in the neighborhood of Mar Ukva. And every day Mar Ukva would take some money and put it in the hole of the doorway of his house. And he would run away. Nobody would know it was him. So one day this ani wanted to figure out who puts the money in my doorway every single day. So he decided he's going to hide behind the door, and when the person comes to give him the money, he's going to pop out. So that day, Ma'ukva was late from Yeshiva, and his wife was with him, and they were walking to the house, and Ma'ukva chapped that this ani was there. He quickly turned around and ran away, because he didn't want to embarrass him. The Gemara says they hid inside an oven, a burning hot oven, which didn't have any coals in it, it was still burning hot. Okay, his feet got burnt, her feet didn't get burnt, whatever. But the kasha that Eilam asks on this Gemara. So you see, the Gemara says, from here, Mikan, Adam, you should throw yourself into a fire rather than embarrass somebody in public. That's why Mar Ukva, Taka, he lived up to it. He threw himself into an oven. The question is, that, first of all, was Mar Ukva doing anything wrong over here? Mar Ukva wasn't trying to embarrass somebody in public. The Ani was chasing after him. So if the Ani discovers who gave him the money, the Ani will be embarrassed. But the Ani is doing it to himself. Mar Ukva is not doing it to the Ani. That's point number one. Point number two, was Mar Ukva doing a bad thing here or a good thing here? He was doing a good thing, he was doing tzedakah. And not only that, he was doing the highest level of tzedakah. We know the Rambam lists the different levels of tzedakah. The best way is that the Ani doesn't know who he's getting it from. Anonymous tzedakah. It's the best possible way, because if he knows, he's embarrassed. So Mar Ukva was here being Isaac in a great mitzvah of tzedakah that he shouldn't know about it. And even so, he had to run away. The third point is that the Ani was obviously meichel on his busha if he was chasing after him. The Ani was chasing Mar Ukva, which means the Ani was bringing the busha on himself. Okay, Mar Ukva is going to turn around, he's going to see, oh, it's the Gadol Hadar who was giving me tzedakah, I'm so embarrassed. But he wanted to see. So obviously the Ani didn't really care so much.
Well, he didn't know who it was. Maybe he would have been embarrassed. He wouldn't realize the Gadol Hadar.
Yeah, but he wanted to find out. You see, he didn't mind knowing. So you see from there that even somebody who doesn't care about it, and even you doing a mitzvah, you're not trying to embarrass somebody. You see how much you have to run away from embarrassing somebody. We think that when we hear the Maimar Chazal, it's better to throw yourself in the fire than embarrass somebody. We think it means, somebody says something to you and you could have a chance to embarrass him in public. A guy does something foolish, your mamash can make fun of him and everybody will laugh. Oh, but what if I'm doing something good, I'm doing a mitzvah, happens to be while I'm doing my mitzvah, somebody might get embarrassed. No, that doesn't apply. I'm doing a mitzvah, I can embarrass him. See from here, Mar Ukva ran away, he threw himself into an oven. He got burnt. He didn't give up risk his life, but he threw himself into a hot oven that he shouldn't embarrass the person. Now Reb Leib Chasman asks the Kashas of the Lashon of the Pasuk, of the Chazal. The Chazal say that we learn from the story of Yehuda and Tamar that Tamar didn't want to embarrass Yehuda. Noach lo la'adam sheyapelo b'kibshan. It's noach. It's easier, or it should be easier to get yourself thrown into a fire. So based off what we said before, that if you taste this, you're mechuyev to do this. You're mechuyev to give up your life rather than embarrass someone. So why did it say noach? What?
Not in this case. Only in the case when you're embarrassing someone.
Yeah, Ukva would embarrass the Ani or Tamar. If she would disclose that Yehuda had slept with her, so she'd be embarrassing Tamar. Yehuda, who was her father-in-law. Her father-in-law had slept with her. So now she would say, oh, it was my father-in-law. He was a big tzaddik, so you embarrass her. So she was willing to give up her life. So it should say in the Chazal, the question is, should say, Chayav ata l'hapilo l'eish. You're mechuyev to throw yourself into fire. It should say, or tzarech ata l'hapilo l'eish. You have to give up your life. Why does it say, it's better, it's easier? So Reb Leib Chasman says that Chazal are coming to teach us a Yesod, that when it comes to such an opportunity that you're in, you're such a quandary, you might have a chance to embarrass somebody, or you could hurt yourself not to embarrass the person, or you could throw yourself into the fire. You should look at it that it's easier for you to go into the fire. You shouldn't think in your head, oh, I know that if I embarrass him, I lose my chilek l'olam haba, like Rabbeinu Yonah says. You shouldn't think that. Oh, I know that if I embarrass him, it's one of the worst of theirs, and therefore I'll try not to do it, or therefore I'd rather hurt myself. No, it should feel in your mind that it's easier to throw yourself into a fire than to embarrass him. Which means like this, to give a mashal. Let's say you're chas shalom somebody who's trapped in a burning house, and there's two exits. One exit, there's a giant fire engulfed around the whole doorway. And one exit, there's a little small fire on the floor. Right? So you know it's much easier. There's no shaila in your mind. You can go through the small fire, right? You don't have to think about it. Oh, that fire is 10 feet tall. This fire is 2 feet tall. You know, you jump through the small fire. You know you might get burned. So too, if a person might have to embarrass somebody or throw themselves into the fire, it shouldn't be any question in their mind. Obviously, it's easier for me. I'd rather go into the fire. And I'll give you a story to illustrate this point. Amazing story. Maharil Diskin was once giving a shiur. He used to give a shiur every week in his shul, and the people in the shiur would bring him a cup of hot tea. before he started the shir. And every time the shamish would take the sugar and put in a few scoops of sugar into the tea and bring it to him. Now, the reason why he would give him so much sugar is because he had a low blood sugar and he had to have a lot of sugar. So it was good for him to have it. 1 week by accident, the shamish mixed up the salt container and the sugar container. And he scooped in a heaping tablespoons full of salt into Maharil Diskin's tea. And he brought it to him. Maharil Diskin takes the cup of tea and starts drinking it as if nothing happened. And the Rebbetzin was in the kitchen, and she noticed afterwards, after he started drinking it, that the shamish had been taking out from the salt. And she's like, "Oy vey," and I don't know if she ran in and disrupted him, or afterwards she said, "How could you have done that? It's not only is it disgusting, but it's dangerous for you. He had low blood sugar. He's eating tablespoons full of salt." And he didn't, on his face, it looked as if he was enjoying it. He said, Chazal say, it's better to throw yourself into a fire than to embarrass a man in public. How can I embarrass him? So from this story you see that not only did he live up to it, but in his mind, you could say that when he drank the salty tea, it was as if he was drinking sweet tea. And in his mind, he had ingrained this idea into himself so much that it's so bad to embarrass somebody, that when he drank the salt, he tasted sugar. Amazing, no? When he drank the salt, he tasted sugar. And that's an amazing thing that we have to put into ourselves. We have to put into ourselves that not to embarrass somebody is the worst thing in the world, to embarrass somebody. Rabbeinu Yonah writes that if you embarrass somebody, you lose your chelik olam haba. Embarrass somebody b'rabim. But by the other givul averes chamurs, if you kill somebody, you don't lose your chelik olam haba. If you're mazana, why over here do you lose your chelik olam haba? So he says because here it's very hard to do tshuva for it. Here you don't even know that you did it. You embarrass somebody. Very funny joke. I posted something on WhatsApp, something making fun of this guy. I think it's harmless. Somebody says, you ask a guy, why are you making fun of your friend? Why are you? No, it's just harmless. It's just my friend. I was talking to somebody recently, and he was talking to his friend on his video chatting in. And they're like, they're about to go out, this and that. After he hangs up, he's like, that guy is such a whatever. He says something negative, really disgusting about him. I'm like, this guy's your friend, and now you're making fun of him. Like, well, what type of friend are you? But anyway, it was just harmless, just friends. We make fun of each other all the time. We did all the time.
Banter.
It's just banter, right? Exactly, it's nothing. But a person has to realize, no, it's not just banter. It's very hurtful. When you do that, you're killing him. Rabbeinu Yonah writes that, why is it like Imul Averis Chamuris? Why is it so severe? Because when you make fun of a person, you drain the blood out of their face. That's why it's called Hamalbim Panei Chaver Brab. You make his face white. Malbim means you make it white. You drain the blood out of his face. And we learn in Ksubis that taking the blood out of something, right? Netilas Neshama. Taking the blood out of somebody, killing them. When you take the blood out of that person, your mom is killing them. And like the Yeshiva always says, that what makes a person live? What makes you live is your self-respect, your self-esteem, your self-worth. A guy who feels like he's worth nothing, like he's not accomplishing and nobody respects him, he'd rather die. I read an unbelievable story recently, crazy story. I read it in Zelig Pliskin's book, Guard Your Tongue. He said there was a person walking in Manhattan from a Yid, and a guy accosts him with a pistol, sticks a gun in his face. And what does he do? Doesn't take his money, doesn't beat him up, doesn't rob him of his phone and his wallet. He starts pouring out his entire tale of woe and sadness and depression and sorrows. For an hour, he's pointing a gun at him. I don't know, maybe they were in a dark alleyway late at night, there's nobody around. For an hour. In Manhattan nowadays, nobody would look anyways if a guy's pointing a gun at you. They don't care, they'll keep going. For an hour, he's pointing a gun at him and unloading all his burdens on him and all his tsars. And then after the hour, he tells him, there's nobody in the world who listens to me. And that's it. He let the guy go. What do you see from there? You see that a person has to need somebody to listen to them, somebody to respect them. So that's the side here. If you embarrass me, Barabim, you're killing the person. Killing the person. And we know there's so many stories like Dayan, Moshe Feinstein, the famous story, a guy slammed the car door on his fingers. It's in the book, slammed. Why are your fingers falling off? Oh no, don't worry about it. It's got a new plastic surgery, broken fingers. He didn't say a word, zero. Now, that's a different level, because if somebody slams the car door on your fingers, you don't think about whether you should scream or not. It's just automatic. So Moshe had programmed himself automatically not to do it. It's an unbelievable story. He did the famous story that he had bought a brand new Gemara. There was a new publishing company, put out a new beautiful shas, and he got the shas right away. And he left a bottle of blue ink on his table for his fountain pen, and a boy came in and spilled the ink all over the table. What did he say? Oh, it looks so beautiful. That he trained himself not to embarrass somebody else. Rosham Zalman Auerbach, one time somebody brought him a shaila of a sensitive issue, and he wrote him down on a note and he gave it to him. Told the person, come back to me tomorrow, I'll give you a tshuva, I'll give you an answer. The next day, the person comes, knocks on the door. Rav Shlomo Zalman says, come in, please wait. He goes, takes a chair, brings it over to the Sarm Shank. He stands on the chair, reaches to the top of the Sarm Shank, top. He pulls down an envelope. Inside the envelope was the note folded up, and the envelope was sealed. He gives it back to him. He says, here, take this. I don't want it to fall. I don't want anybody to see it. And then he told him the answer. And he did this all the time. Anytime people would give him shilas, they wrote down sensitive things, he would destroy it. Either give it back or destroy it. Or no, he would try to give it back right away. Sorry, because he never wanted the person to even have a fear in their mind that somebody in the Rav's house, Rabbanim are very open people, and there are always people in their study. Chaim doesn't have a house. The whole world's in his house. Kupat Tzedakah, they live in his house. So who knows? You give him a shaila, everybody's going to see your personal shaila. So Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach made sure to give it back in a sealed envelope. Make sure nobody else is going to see it. And make sure that it shouldn't fall into his hands. Chas v'sholom, it shouldn't embarrass him. So hopefully we should take this to heart, and hopefully we'll be a little more careful next time. We might want to say something which can be embarrassing to somebody, to hurtful to somebody. Remember how severe it is and how painful it is. And if it's so bad, about the big schus, right? Anybody who's anybody who closes their mouth, the malachim can't stand. The person who closes their mouth and want to say something bad, malachim don't come to your toes. Malachim.
Thank you. Awesome.
So
This is what I need.